It's you or him. Kill.
Director, producer, writer, also actor. There's nothing stopping this dude. His name is Cassius Corrigan, and he has a film out called Huracan in the UK in select cinemas right now. For more, go to flippyweek.net. Cassius, it's so good to be talking to you. What an amazing time this is for you.
You're catching me at a very interesting point in my life, you know, and a point in which I feel just incredibly grateful for all the opportunities that we've had, and it's exciting. You know what I mean? We designed this film for the theatrical experience, and it's getting it now throughout the UK. And you know, as a small movie that we made in Little Haiti, Pequeña Havana, Miami, you know, micro budget movie, to have this reception overseas and around the world has been pretty rewarding.
Listen, this is your shot. It's Cap.
You're still recovering from an acute psychotic episode. You should not be fighting.
I gotta fight.
People like you, people like Rob Savage with Host, which was a new British horror film that they released in lockdown. I feel like this time could have just been like so difficult for you guys, but instead you just like kept it moving. It feels as though you went to autopilot and you just continued to promote the movie.
I mean, for me, I really try to cultivate the mentality of just always seeing the opportunity, regardless of the scenario. So like whether it's a positive or a negative one. And so for me right now, it's like, I'm very lucky that I don't have COVID. I just got tested again yesterday, and my family is safe, you know, so my family's healthy. So for me, I can't complain. A lot of people have been more adversely affected. So for me, it's like, where are the opportunities? And if we're spending more time in quarantine, I have to write more, you know, and there's the equation.
What I loved about Huracan as well, Cassius, is that you didn't do the predictable thing. You literally like really challenged yourself. You threw in the entertainment element with the MMA. You also put in so much heart. So there was so much like real depth, like a drama, like a real story in there around this dude and his trauma that he was suffering. And you somehow managed to incorporate all these different threads and you made it work, which shows to me how much you genuinely wanted to do something a little bit special.
For me, it's all about the layers. Like that's what separates, you know, the films that are important, the films that last, you know, from the ones that fade away. And I knew I wanted to engage on those different levels. Like I knew I wanted it to be at the front of it, a thought-provoking thriller featuring a deep dive into the mystery of severe mental illness. Like for me as an audience, I always try to put myself and think like, if I'm just going to turn this movie on to watch it, like what are the things that would turn me on? What are the things that would get my interest and attention? And that thought-provoking thriller angle for me has always, whenever it's done right, whenever it's novel, I find it super compelling. And then I knew if I can combine that with this authentic and visceral MMA fight action already, just with those two elements, it will be a film experience that I've never had before. You know, so that's really what I'm trying to do more than anything else, is create these novel and engaging film experiences that once you've had them, the one thing you can't say, even if you didn't like it, like the one thing you can't say is, I've already seen that movie, or like, oh my God, it's so similar. I feel like I've seen it before. That for me was the enemy. You know what I'm saying?
So let's have a clean fight. Touch the glove.
I think we should just get started.
Does he or she have a name?
You're an independent creator who's made his debut feature film. And I know it's tough, you know, you've made it look a bit easy, but budget, cast, shooting, all these things that you had to put yourself through to get this film out and out to the world for people to enjoy it. I'm wondering, what did you learn about yourself during this process, Cassius?
I would say it maybe comes more from the producing element of it all, because I was also the lead producer on the film. It's easy now at the point that we're at, where we have distribution, you know, through HBO in the United States and a theatrical release in the UK, and we had a limited theatrical in Shanghai, China, and you know, we're selling all over the world. It's like it's easy to look at the rewards and be like, okay, great, so it was worth it, you know. And the takeaway was make a great movie, but that's not there's nothing instructive from that. So for me, it really goes like, you have to look further back towards more the outset of the journey and the inception of this idea. And my takeaway is that the only thing that's put myself and my team in a position to be here was at the beginning, the decision that I made to risk failure, to embark on this journey and tell myself, I have to put myself in a situation where no one can prevent me from making this movie. So if that means I have to design a film that can be made for what I had in savings at the time, which was $10,000, then that's what I'm gonna have to do. And if I'm gonna have to wear all the hats, I wrote it so that I could direct it. I had a goal. My goal was to direct my first feature film and to learn everything I could from it. There was no guarantee it'd be a great movie, especially when I ultimately also decided to act in the film. Once we started casting and I saw how difficult it was going to be to cast someone who could be authentic as someone suffering from severe mental illness and authentic as a martial arts fighter with years of experience.
Yeah.
That was the final decision where it's like, okay, well now this might not only be a failure, now this might be a humiliating failure because people are going to laugh at my performance. I had never acted before. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, what's my goal? You know, my goal is to become a great filmmaker, and to do that, I have to learn how to do it. And if I fail doing this and it's humiliating, that will, you know, that's going to suck. Obviously, that's going to be brutal, but I will have learned tremendously.
Yeah.
And I ultimately prioritized, you know, advancing it from an experience standpoint, from a knowledge standpoint, from a skill acquisition standpoint. I was able to prioritize that over the fear of failure. And having the stamina over the last 4 years to push forward on that journey and to never settle.
It's so interesting that you had never acted before, because you did such a good job. There was this one scene that I remember really vividly, and it was the scene where your therapist, played by Yara Martinez, she's out night out with her girls, and she's leaving the girls, and you're across the road, you spot her and you go over to her, and the chemistry between you two was just fire. It was just so good to watch. It just felt like, is this like just like improv, or is this actually scripted? Because it was just so beautiful.
Yeah, no, your instinct is totally correct. It was very improvisational. Like, we knew that there was going to be an encounter.
Yeah.
But you know, I really want, especially because Yara is so present. Like, one of the gifts that she brings as a performer, as an actor, is how present she is with you, and her ability to go in comedy or drama. Like, she can go in either direction and on both sides very well. And like, I knew I wanted to create a scenario where she could feel free to do that. And I also knew if we just my other, you know, hypothesis was, if we just shoot this on a Friday night and there's a lot of energy outside and like people walking around, and we didn't block off that street, you know, we were just shooting in the middle of, you know, Brickell, Miami. And I had that instinct that the energy would come across on screen, and thankfully it did.
MMA, oh my God, I'm watching these scenes in the film and it's so savage. I mean, you were fighting against some of the best MMA fighters. Cassius, broken bones. I mean, you made it look easy, but boy, I would love to know how tough it was to film some of those fight scenes, because they were incredible to watch.
A couple broken bones suffered during production, you know, but so worth it. If I didn't break any bones, I would have been a little disappointed, because the story around it wouldn't have been as good.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, you're totally right. I mean, it is such a from the outside, it looks like an incredibly brutal and violent sport, and violence is at the core of it. As a martial artist myself, and becoming obsessed with the sport in the way that I have, I look at it very differently now, in that I see it in one way as this incredibly sophisticated art form. I see it also as this really vital tool that people that don't have many opportunities, you know, use to advance their life. You know what I mean? To gain a level of acclaim, attention. You know, people do this in the entertainment industry, and they're praised. People do it in combat sports, and they're you know, they're found to be intimidating or scary.
Best rush you're ever gonna feel, man. You get in there, everyone's eyes are on you, and it's up to you to deliver.
You know, watching the film as well, Cassius, I really felt that you, as a filmmaker, really wanted to tell some like stories about real things that are happening in the world right now, you know, socially, you know, people that are coming out of prison, not being able to get work, struggling, people that are suffering from trauma, not getting the therapy, or not even knowing that they've got traumas. And in a lot of ways, some of the subject matters that you handled made this film probably a tougher film for people to digest, in the sense that you could have made it more mainstream, but you deliberately didn't. And I really felt like that was important for you.
I wanted to have some meat. I wanted to have something concrete. I want to be talking about something important and relevant, you know? And I had a window into that world through my father's work. My dad is a judge in Miami-Dade Circuit Court, and he's worked in juvenile court and criminal court. And in juvenile court, also known as family court, that's where every case with child abuse, child abandonment, and child neglect goes through that courthouse. And the stories that that he would tell me of like what was going on at work, like what he was working on, are just some of the most heartbreaking and tragic ones, you know, you've ever heard. And I felt like, wow, this is like, you know, you watch the local news, you read, you know, the New York Times, like you don't see these stories represented, and they feel like the most urgent and vital ones, you know? And I just felt, it just touched me deeply, you know? And I just felt if I'm having this emotional response to these stories, I can, using the craft of filmmaking, I can generate a similar response in someone else. And hopefully if I can do that effectively enough, like people will, maybe there'll be more of an empathetic response, you know, to someone who does have mental illness. And obviously we're showing a very severe and rare form of it, but at its root, dissociative identity disorder is a trauma-based illness. So a lot of people can identify and access, you know, what it means to have suffered trauma and to still be resolving it, you know, to still be dealing with the knock-on effects from it.
When you were in the foster care system, they said it was PTSD. When you were in juvie, they said it was bipolar disorder, and now they're saying that it's schizophrenia.
I know I got somebody else living inside my head.
I'm hearing people are interested in making potentially a TV series with you. Are a lot of people now getting in touch that perhaps weren't paying as much attention before?
Yes, that's been one of the really that's been one of the rewards. You know, one of the rewards of this process is sort of becoming a legitimate filmmaker with my first movie. You know, we've gotten these incredible reviews in the New York Times and in The Guardian, and you know, with the release on HBO and now the release in theaters in the UK, it becomes like a momentum almost behind this project that one person's opinion almost doesn't matter, because there's so much going for the film now, and the reception has been so positive. And we've been, I think ultimately what it's like is the film it's really an original movie. Like it sounds so cliche to say it, but it truly is. Like you can't say that movie's been made before, and there's concrete value in that. I have a television show that I'm working on with my friends at Imagine, and also with Lorenzo Di Bonaventura Pictures, the producer of the Transformers franchise and like a bunch of other huge movies and TV shows. And that's an international MMA drama set between Brazil and Ireland.
That sounds sick. Wow. Good luck with that. Cassius, thank you so much for talking to me. I wish you so much luck with the film. It's out now in the UK in cinemas. People go check it out, go support, and good to catch up.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Huracan.